lay up to 1,200 eggs in a year. So you can imagine one giving you 1,200 eggs in a year. Certainly it's going to be profitably for you to engage in that. Opportunities for intending snail farmers is one thing that we will expose you to, because that is one of the things we do on Business Around Town. We try to expose you to some of these opportunities and awaken the sleeping giant in you to see the opportunities there so that you can venture in there.
Absolutely. And remember, whatever facts or information that we give you here is just a tip of the iceberg. Make sure to do your own due diligence, do your own research, find out more about it before investing your money in any opportunity that we come up here to inform you about.
Because we don't have the time to tell you everything you need to know.
Absolutely.
We don't have that luxury of time.
Absolutely. Now, despite snail farming being lucrative, the sector is still unable to meet the demand for snail meat, most especially during the dry season. Now, is that starting to sound familiar? Yes. Yes, it is. Are you seeing that there are so many things you can do with money? Because a lot of people are like, what's now go do? What business will I do? Are you seeing it? Okay, let's go ahead. During the rainy season, there are more hand-picked snails from the forest available in the market because of the favorable weather, which makes snails come out of hiding. The supply of snails to the market during the dry season is solely dependent on snail farmers, making snails scarce and more expensive. There have been calls by snail farmers for more youths to join snail farming in Nigeria.
And also another
Think about it.
great opportunity there is that the potential it has in terms of export. We talk about what you can export outside the shores of Nigeria and make money for yourself, and also improve the foreign exchange market, by bringing in more hard currency to Nigeria. This is one avenue for you to do that. There are high demands for African land giant snails meat internationally, especially from African restaurants and shops based abroad. Aside from the meat, snails are also very popular ingredients for beauty and pharmaceuticals products. There is a huge demand for the serum from snails. There is a wide range of beauty and cosmetic products purely made from snail extract.
Absolutely. In fact, there's a particular treatment now that is kind of trending where they put the snail on the face and they just allow it move. They say it's good for the skin. I don't know. I'm no beautician.
Would you try that?
No. There are so many things I'm not going to try out. I believe that your skin is what you eat more than what you put on it. So I just do my best to load my body with so much fruits, vegetables, and water. I feel that's basically what it takes to get your skin glowing. All of those personal opinion, or if you want to spend all your money on skincare products, go ahead and do it. If you ever hear me talking about using skincare products, yes, I'll do it one day. I'm just saying, I think your skin is what you eat.
And in fact, if you want to advertise your skincare product, you can do that. This is Business Around Town. We give you the opportunity to advertise and make more sales from your products.
Absolutely. Now let's tell you how you can get started in snail farming in Nigeria. According to multiple research data, 1 in 50 Nigerians are snail farmers. Although a larger percentage of snail farming in Nigeria is done through the traditional practice of hand-picking snails from bushes or the forest during the rainy seasons, this leads to scarcity during the dry season. And during this period, the weather isn't friendly for snails and causes them to go back in hiding. I have a friend that grew up in Warri, and he'll tell me that when they were younger, his mom and her sisters would rub something. There's something they rub on their body. I can't remember what it is, what he said, but they'll go into the forest, and when they come back, there'll be snail everywhere. They'll bring enough, and they would cook soup with it. They would pepper it, and all of that. If you enjoy snail meat, that sounds like, great stuff right there. Now, during this season, the supply of snail to the market is solely dependent on the smaller percentage of snail farmers who have farms where they rear snails. Due to the limited number of snail farmers in Nigeria, there's a huge gap between demand and supply, which intending snail farmers like yourself can close in and make profit. Now, there are a ton of things you should consider before setting up your snail farm, and most importantly, make sure that you're ready to expend your time, your energy, and in the long run, because farming takes up a lot of those. You should also understand that, like every other type of farming, such as maize farming and poultry farming and all the rest that we have spoken to you about, snail farming requires consistency. See those tiny little things that are slow? Yes, they're going to take your time and your energy, and you gotta stay consistent.
All right, let's take a look at how you can start now, how to get started with snail farming in Nigeria. Setting up a snail farm doesn't require a huge capital to set up, and the running cost is moderate. And to get started, just stay with us and we will dish out the step-by-step details you need to start. The reality in any business or enterprise is that without proper planning, that is crossing the T's and dotting the I's, a person could face a myriad of problems. So of course, challenges will surface regardless of how experienced you are in the field, but those challenges wouldn't be overwhelming if you have anticipated them beforehand.
Absolutely. Now, you in this episode of Business Around Town, in this segment of Get to Know Your Business, we're going to, at the end of this episode actually, you should be able to know what snail farming is, understand the economics of snail rearing, understand snail breeds, take feeding into account, consider housing and shelter, know the soil types you need to know, prevent pests and diseases, plan for reproduction, harvest your snails, and building a snail farm. So when we tell you that this episode is fully packed with information, we know what we're talking about. And because we have to cramp all of this into one episode, we always advise you to go back and do more extensive research on these issues. Now, let's go into the deets. Snail farming is called heliculture, and heliculture describes the process of raising snails for consumption. Remember I said that in my introduction? Exactly. Each snail has female and male reproductive organs to procreate fertile eggs. Yes, so you don't have male snails and female snails. No. Every snail has both. Okay? Hence, it is safe to say that snails are hermaphrodites. Okay? As for the nutritional benefits, snails are a vital source of calcium, phosphorus, iron, and protein. And also, snails are low in cholesterol, sodium, and fats. Considered as sustainable agribusiness in Nigeria, snail farming is highly economical. For a small startup, you just need a little investment to receive proceeds from your snail farm. However, to get higher returns from the business, you should be ready to step up your investment to a larger scale.
And now let's take a look at the economic of snail rearing. Because snail is an export commodity, its value is especially high in countries outside Nigeria. The climate in Nigeria is particularly favorable for snail farming. We said something like this yesterday, that we are blessed in Nigeria. When you look at the soil, if you look at the weather, if you look at our water, everything we have in Nigeria, we're blessed with everything. I could recall when Jack Ma visited Africa for the second time, he was like, before coming to Africa, he was discouraged that Africa is a war-torn area, a lot of hunger and poverty, nothing to go see over there. But when he came, he was like, every year I have to come back to Africa, because they value a lot of that. We are blessed in Africa. We have everything in Africa. He was even looking at the atmosphere, say, look at the sky is blue. It's something they cherish a lot in China. They don't get to see the sky as blue as we have it here in abundance in Africa.
You know, a lot of people think that life in the West, and I say West entirely, especially like in the UK, in Canada, is really all bliss till you get to see the sun for only 3 months in the entire year. I do know someone who eventually got to come to Nigeria once, and she couldn't stop sitting in the sun. She said, I got 2 weeks to get a tan, and I need as much of a tan as I can. And I was like, what do you mean? We're running away from the sun. And she's like, what? We don't see it. It's almost always gray skies. Okay, so appreciate the beauty of the weather that we have here in Africa, especially here in Nigeria.
All right, so the snail feeds are cost effective. That is what you should know, and you can rear your snails as a part-time job. As a result, you can easily make a lot of money from snail farming. During the dry season, snail prices increases, which means more money for you. Here is a realistic sample to help you. For instance, if you want to set up a commercial snail business of about 200 snails, you will need 140,000 naira. 40,000 out of the money will go to the snail pen, and 100,000 naira will be used for the seed snails. One mature snail can give you proceed of 250 to 800 naira in the market based on the size, season, and location.
Wow. I don't know if I'm the only one that gets mind blown, because when we're prepping for the show, I'm usually reading through these facts and I'm like, what? What knowledge is actually power? Now, snails come in various species, colors, sizes, and shapes. In Nigeria, we have the African land giant snail, which that's the Achantina, which is the most popular because of its economic size. There is the burgundy snail and the garden snail, the white garden snail, and the milk snail. These are the different breeds of snails. But remember, the most popular is the Achantina, which is the African land giant snail. Making water and food available for your snails in the morning and in the night every day is very important. So you can feed them plantain, pumpkin, potato, lettuce, pawpaw, cabbage, banana, cucumber, etc. As you can see, we are calling regular everyday foods. Snails commonly feed on meal, leftovers, and green leaves without salt. Calcium is also vital for the growth of their shells, so ensure you add limestone and eggshells to their feeds. Another ideal staples for snail feed include corn, pap, beans, and rice, all without salt. Please don't feed your snail salt. Okay? Calcium is crucial in feeding snails because it boosts their growth, that's their growth rate, and produces thicker shells. Okay? Remember, don't go feeding snails salt. Let's talk about their housing and the snails.
Alright, snails need comfort to thrive. The size of the snail's house will determine how comfortable the snails will be. Also, the style and size of the snail house are dependent on the size of your snail farm. If you plan to venture into commercial farming, get a permanent site for your snail farm. Besides nets, people rear snails in boxes made of wood and wire gate, depending on the stage of the snail's development and habits. When you find what works for your snail, sort them by age, separate them into matured, young, and newly hatched, and make sure the younger snails have a comfortable shelter that protects them from predators. Also, keep the temperature around the snails regulated with cloth and leaves to prevent dehydration. This is something that I see people do in my previous office. They just aside there, they use old tires, all these vehicle tires.
Oh, absolutely.
They just throw vehicle tire there, put them inside, pour water, and make sure the place is just moist, and that is all. They just feed them with leftovers of food. That is literally what you do. So you spend less. You spend less in terms of rearing snail. And another thing that you should also consider is soil type.
Absolutely. The soil is the snail's primary habitat. Okay, now it's essential for their survival because of the chemical components that are present in it. If you want to go for sandy loamy soil you would want to go for sandy loamy soil because of the high level of organic matter that it contains. Now, the type of soil is also a suitable place for snails to lay their eggs and to drink water because of its balance. Now, this is something you should pay attention to. Common predators of snails include turkeys, geese, chickens, ants, snakes, lizards, and termites. Snails are not associated with many diseases, but it is common to find issues of bacteria and fungi due to overcrowded pens. Toads, frogs, birds, weasels, skunks, moles, mice, and rats are carriers of fungi, and fungi can spread by contact. So make sure you pay attention to pest activity and remove your snails from the pens when necessary. Take note of every single animal and insect we mentioned because they can be detrimental to the health and growth of your snails.
All right, let's look at reproduction because time is not on our side. Let's see if we can quickly wrap it up today. When snails are sexually matured between 8 to 12 months after hatching, they lay eggs that hatch between 4 and 6 weeks. There is no specific breeding period for snails, but you can expect anything from 5 to 6 clutches of eggs yearly. In each clutch, there is an average of 200 eggs only if you place them under suitable conditions. So the young snails can stay in the soil for 5 days after hatching. Upon hatching, put them in a separate pen from the matured snails to grow with adequate space and protection. This stage may be cumbersome, but the market value and fertile nature of the snails will compensate you for the long maturity period.
Yes, and I'm just going to say this in closing. When you're building a snail farm, these are some of the things that you would need. You need water because if it doesn't rain, so when it doesn't rain, spray down the leaves and the ground for your snail farm with a spray bottle, and don't flood the farm. Take note to not do that.
They need the moist. They
need the moist. Yes. Fruits, vegetables, and leafy greens. Plant all things green on your snail farm for the snails to feed on. Now you need a shovel to dig a trench to station your wooden fence. Sandy loamy soil, which of course we explained earlier. You need a staple gun to pin the fencing material, which is maybe wire mesh or a net around the wooden post. Then you need the wooden posts. Place the foot of your wooden post inside the trench that you dug, and you need fencing material. So wrap up some net or wire mesh around the wooden post and staple them so your snails don't escape. Get more information about this, and of course you can go on YouTube, check out the video from today's episode so that you could pause, rewind, slow it down, and get all the necessary information that you need. This has been a beautiful episode of Business Around Town. Today we taught you about getting started with snail farming in Nigeria. I hope you enjoyed it.
Tomorrow is going to be another day for us to bring you a brand new focus. So stay with us and make a deal with us. Don't forget, we come at 9:30 through to 10:30 every weekdays. This is Voice of the People, 96.1 FM Abuja. My name is Ali Udoma.
And I'm Chinwe Blessing. Good morning.